Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. I hope all of you are having an awesome week so far. Students, in this IELTS live class, we're looking at an IELTS listening section. I took the last week off, so there were no live classes, but before that, we did some listening and we focused on parts 1 and 2 of this listening section. Today we're going to focus on parts 3, on a topic on trade, international trade, and part 4 of the famous artist, painter, architect Michelangelo. Welcome Ariadna, hi Golzoda, Ibrahim, nice to see some students joining in. Students, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Visit us there for the general IELTS. Check us out at gieltshelp.com. These are our websites. They power these live classes. We are using them today for our listening exam and audio. The general IELTS looks like this with the green background. To join the premium version, click the big red button. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. And when you go through the checkout, use the code FUTURE10 for a 10% discount. Again, it's a one-time payment. You get lifetime access, and you get 2 extra live classes like this each week. So for the academic, it's the blue background. Again, click the big red button to join the premium version and begin learning for success. Welcome Anna. Hello everybody. Welcome to our members. Good to see members joining in as well. Premium users, I did send you your Zoom links for this week, so check and make sure you have them. Those of you who are not premium users of the website, check out this playlist for these videos. I'll drop this into the chat so you can click on it at some point. Hi Romelia, welcome to our chat moderator. Good to see you, Romelia. All right, students, the apps in your app stores are Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help. The apps will link to the websites. Instagram is IELTS_AEHelp and GIELTS Help. If you have questions, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com. Tomorrow, everybody, we'll have some speaking. On Thursday, we'll have task 2 writing for our premium users through Zoom. And then we'll have more speaking through Zoom for premium users on Friday. Check out videos like this one for your speaking practice on our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe, get notifications. Karam, I'm doing a lot better. I was really sick last week with strep throat, streptococcal infection, but I'm good now. The whole family had it. Anyway, all good now. All right, students, we're going to get right into our listening. So with the listening, you always want to practice active listening. What that means is not just paying attention, but visualizing, imagining what you hear. Okay, so really focus on that. And I will teach you some strategies as we go through the answers. This listening is section 3. They now call this part 3, but same idea of this exam. So for those of you who are new to the IELTS listening, it has 4 sections or 4 parts. Each one gets a little bit more difficult. Okay. And for this one, we're going to use the website. Again, another reason to be that premium user. So when you're a premium user, you'll have lots of materials on the website. Today, I'll just share with you. You have computer-based practice exams, full interactive course, printable books, lesson plans, and then we've got our audio CDs here, and this is going to be our 5th exam. So this will be CD5 track 3. Students, I'm going to play the audio, answer the questions while you listen. Do not put the answers in the chat. We'll go through the answers together at the end of part 3 before doing part 4, and we'll talk a bit more strategy. Here we go, everyone.
Now turn to section 3. Take some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Listening, section 3. You will hear a forum discussion between the moderator and 2 contributors, Dr. Rachel Young and Dr. Ronald Sturgeon, both political scientists at the local university, talking about trade between countries. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Young and Dr. Sturgeon for taking the time to spend this afternoon with us.
Thank you for having us here today.
Dr. Young, could you give us a little background on the topic of free trade and protectionism, a little history?
Well, countries and nation-states have been participating in free trade schemes for millennia. The ancient Egyptians, for example, participated in trade with the Arabians across the Red Sea over 3,000 years ago. The Roman Empire imported many goods from outside their lands, especially luxury goods such as silk, which were only available in China. Free trade, however, though, has much younger roots.
Could you define free trade and protectionism for us, Dr. Sturgeon?
Free trade is trade between countries without taxes, tariffs, or other regulations attached. Without a free trade agreement, nations charge taxes or tariffs on goods that are imported to their country. This is to protect the manufacturers within their country. If country A, for example, produces a product for a 20% higher cost than country B, country A is likely to impose a tariff on the importation of country B's cheaper product into country A. This is to level the playing field for domestic manufacturers. Free trade advocates want to take down this barrier. In my opinion, advocates of free trade do not care about domestic manufacturers and workers in their own country. I believe their only intention is to maximize profit for big international businesses.
I know Dr. Sturgeon is impassioned about protectionism, but what he fails to mention is that while free trade may lead to some lost jobs in certain sectors, it leads to many other jobs in other sectors. This may be cold comfort to those in, say, manufacturing or textiles, but we must not be blind to the needs of the many and be distracted by the needs of the few. Nobody says free trade between countries is perfect, but it is certainly better than a protectionist framework which costs the country jobs and prosperity. Another point I would like to make is that free trade increases competition and thus lowers the price of many goods. This saves consumers money. Purchasing a car, for example, is much cheaper under free trade agreements. While such agreements may appear undesirable for a British company such as Land Rover, since they are given price disadvantage within the United Kingdom, this is not the whole story. While it is true that the company is at a minor disadvantage within their home country, free trade agreements puts them in an equally advantageous position in other countries in which the UK has a free trade agreement.
You now have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen to the rest of the discussion and answer questions 27 to 30.
This is a very interesting discussion. Dr. Sturgeon, from reading some of your work, I know you have some ethical concerns about free trade.
Yes, I have a number of ethical concerns. First and foremost, free trade agreements incentivize highly unethical sweatshops. When countries such as the United Kingdom enter free trade agreements with countries with lower human rights standards, we put ourselves at risk of tacitly endorsing those low human rights standards. Is the ability to wear slightly cheaper clothing really worth selling out on one of our most basic beliefs, that people should be treated with respect?
I agree with Dr. Sturgeon that human rights is an ongoing issue in free trade. Certain incidents, such as sweatshops collapsing and killing dozens of workers, have highlighted this issue in the media and public discourse, but these are isolated incidents.
Hardly. These are not isolated at all. And even if such horrible incidents were rare, does it make the conditions those workers work in permissible? Do we excuse horrible working conditions as long as the workers don't die? That's an incredibly low bar, and one I believe we must implore companies and governments to raise.
Okay, let's move on. Dr. Young, do you believe free trade betters the life of the average British citizen?
Absolutely. I believe free trade agreements make us more prosperous as a society. While not perfect, I truly believe pursuing free trade agreements is a positive step in making our world a better place.
Of course, I disagree. While I do not doubt that more wealth comes into our country as a result of free trade agreements, I believe this money never improves the life of the average citizen. The rich get richer and the middle class workers get laid off. Not to mention the ethical issues I have with this.
That is the end of section 3. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
All right, everybody, use that half minute wisely to check your answers. Let me just go back to our website here. Again, for those of you just joining in, we're doing an IELTS listening and we're using our website here at aehelp.com. I'll drop that in here for the audio, and we'll go through the answers for part 3 and then we'll do part 4 in just a moment here, everybody, okay? All right, going back to this, let's take a look at the questions now. You saw me take a few steps here, everybody, in the beginning. So we had some time to review the questions. And notice that I highlighted some of these parts here. Like I highlighted first record of trade, or I highlighted 20% higher cost than country B, or I highlighted must pay up. What was I doing there? What do you think I was highlighting? Now, in the real exam, you don't really have time to highlight it, but you just kind of focus and pay attention to these parts. So what was I doing there? So before you give me those answers, what was the purpose of that, everyone? It's an important question here. I'm going to put it into our notes. So what information was I highlighting as I reviewed the listening questions? Okay, what was it? Mal says words you heard. Not really, Mal, because I highlighted before I even heard them. Okay, Rex says I gave my speaking and the interviewer kept asking me science-related questions. Yeah, probably some general science questions there. Mal says to mark the places where answers may be possible. Shiva says the key words to predict the answers. Yeah, absolutely, Shiva. That's a very good answer. So Shiva has this answer. I like that answer, Shiva. Okay, that's a really good one. So Shiva says you were highlighting keywords to predict the answers. Yes, so some words like names and numbers and words that precede the answer are very useful to identify and listen for, and listen for their synonyms. Okay, words with the same meaning. All right, absolutely good answer. Shiva, yeah. So if you look at this, right, basically I realized it says, how long ago was the first record of trade between nations? So at some point here, the speaker is going to say the first record of trade was, right? It will be some kind of a statement like the first, or maybe they'll say something like the earliest record of trade was. Okay? And then they give the answers. And Anna says, and Realistic Life says, that answer is 3,000 years ago, which is good because here the question is how long ago, right? So here, just one number is all you need, and it's 3,000. Okay. So if you got 3,000s, that's the correct answer. And you want to train yourself to quickly identify these key pieces before you hear the audio. Okay. Here's an example of a number, right? Like 20%. That's an easy number to, again, listen for, right? You're going to hear that 20%, and that will help you identify your location in the audio, right? And then here, before the blank, right, we have must pay. So this is some kind of action. It's some kind of actionable. So again, it's good to listen for. And you might not hear must pay. They might say something like has to pay or have to pay, right? Okay. Realistic Life says tax. Tax is okay because they use that. Tariff is also okay because they use that. So I'm going to go with tariff here. So either tariff or tax. Just make sure that you know how to spell it. If you don't, look for the word somewhere else. Okay, you'll probably find it in the questions. So here it was tariff as the correct answer. Now here we have another interesting case of active listening. Here it says this is to level the playing field for. Now notice how here we have these quotation marks, and these are really useful because this means you're going to hear the exact phrase, okay, in the audio. And indeed they did say it. They said this is to level the playing field for, and it was 2 words here. Read the question carefully. It says no more than 2 words and or a number. So here it was 2 words. Anybody get those 2 words? So level the playing field for. For would be some kind of a noun, some kind of subject noun, like a person or a group of people. Barath, they'll probably take that because it's a perfect paraphrase, even though I'm not sure if they said that exact phrasing, but I think they would take that. They would take that response. The second word is perfectly accurate. The first word is paraphrased. You paraphrased it, but that's okay. Barath Chinta says local manufacturers. Yeah, local manufacturers. Okay, it was domestic manufacturers. Okay, domestic means local. It's the same idea. Yeah, so very good. Okay, and IELTS is usually they're pretty good. So if you have a perfect paraphrase like local, they'd probably take that. They'd give you that. Okay, but it has to be perfect. It has to be a perfect synonym for something like domestic. Okay. All right. Good job. Good job. Good job. Okay, if countries do have a free trade agreement, the company does not have to pay to import the item. Some advocates of protectionism believe free trade advocates are only worried about maximizing what? Yeah, profit. Very good. So you notice here that there are 2 key words, and hopefully you identified these. One is free trade, and the other is protectionism. Okay, protectionism means we tax imports. Free trade means no tax on imports. And hopefully you've learned that from this so far. Okay. All right, now 25, 26, right? No more than 3 words and or a number. Okay, so up to 3 words. 25 is going to be 2 words. It's 2 blanks separated by a phrase. So some people will lose their jobs under free trade agreements, but we must emphasize the needs of the, and the order here has to be correct, students. You have to have the correct order. Anna says the words should be many and be not sidetracked by the needs of the few. Yeah, so they reversed it, right? In the audio, they said few first, and then they said many, but they said this sentence kind of in the opposite way. I had a question on my IELTS exam that was exactly like this one, where they kind of switch or rotate the words. So, Golzoda, you don't have to put all the letters in capital. You can use the correct capitalization. In this case, it's not really a trick, Anna. It's more just checking to make sure that you're paying attention to the questions and the details. So it's not really a trick. Okay, so many and few. Okay, so you would need both of those in your question space for 25. Okay. All right, 26. Free trade lowers the price of many goods because it increases. Now, here you can use some logic. As long as you understand this question and you understand the words, more or less, you can kind of figure out what this is without even really hearing the audio. Like if you didn't catch it, but you pay attention and you're like, okay, free trade lowers the price of many goods because it increases. And most of you know this from just everyday life, I think. So if you have free trade, then generally prices go down. Think about like ordering something off of Amazon from China, right? It's going to be much cheaper because you have increased what? What do you have on Amazon? You have like, 100 of the same product coming from different places. So it's increasing what? You should know this. You should be able to figure this out. If you have 5 stores and all 5 stores are selling the same chocolate bar, you're going to go to the one that sells it the cheapest because it has increased competition. That's right. Very good, Ariadna. Increased competition. Yeah. Nice. Okay. All right, 27, 28, complete the chart below. Write no more than 1 word. Don't write 2 words or it's wrong, okay? So here you had the cause and effect. With this kind of cause and effect type question, you always want to look at the cause first, and then you want to look at the effect second, okay? So a country enters into free trade agreement, jeopardize human rights standards, right? Because when we have free trade, the country's like, oh, we get to be in more competition. Let's just get kids to do the work for peanuts, right? So, enters into free trade agreement, jeopardizes human rights conditions. Sweatshops collapse. That's when the factories collapse. Ugh. The conditions are highlighted in the, Shiva says media, yeah. The news, right? We see that all the time when we have these factories that have terrible conditions. So in the media, correct. And then the realization that such incidents are not isolated implore companies. And again, here I'm looking at the first noun, companies, and something to raise the bar. And Shiva, you got this right for 28 as well, which is great. Binance Moonbix official got it right as well. Realistic Life Golzoda also. Yeah, governments, right? And it's plural. Make sure you don't just write government. Golzoda, if you write government the way you wrote it the first time, you get it wrong because it has to have grammar agreement with companies, governments. Okay, plurals are important in the listening, students. If you have an incorrect plural, you'll get that wrong, so be very careful. Okay, now we have these big multiple choice questions, and students often will have a challenge with these. Why? Because there's just a lot of information, right? So when you're listening to the audio, trying to read all of this, like free trade agreements are the single biggest economic driver for making the world a better place. Free trade agreements are not perfect, but they are a good step towards increasing global welfare. Free trade agreements are not always positive, but can be an important way to level the playing field for domestic. So by the time I read this, even as a native speaker, the audio's finished. Now let's go to Section 4, Part 4. It's like, what? I was just reading the multiple choice answers. So trying to read these longer multiple choice answers is not an effective way to do these. It really doesn't work all that well. So what you want to do instead is you want to focus on the question firstly. Okay. So what is Dr. Young's main point in advocating for free trade? Advocate means to support free trade, right? And then instead of looking at these choices, what you want to do is you want to focus on what this statement will sound like. So Dr. Young's main argument is that, and then take some notes when you hear it. So get your note paper ready. Even in the computer-based exam, you have the note paper, okay? And then write down what you hear real quickly when he's talking. So here, Dr. Young said, it betters the life of citizens. And then he says something like, it's not perfect, but it's a positive to make the world a better place. Right? Did everybody else catch that? Yeah? Yeah, Gozoda, are you following these tips that I just gave you? So I just basically wrote down these words. Betters the lives. So I'm going to see which one is now the closest match for these ideas that I caught. Okay. Free trade agreements are the single biggest economic driver. I didn't hear that single biggest economic driver part. So this one seems a little bit off, right? B. Free trade agreements are not perfect, but they are a good step towards increasing global welfare. He said that very directly. He said not perfect, but a positive way to make the world better. So that one really looks good, right? And then C, as free trade agreements are not always positive, but can be an important way to level the playing field for domestic manufacturers. He didn't say that, right? So the closest match is that one. It's B. Okay. Does everybody get how to do these bigger multiple choice questions now, right? So the big mistake that a lot of students make is they focus on the choices. And even if you're a native speaker, even if you have really good English skills, it's very, very, very hard to read all of these and pay attention to these while you're listening to the actual answer. It's not a good way to do it. Okay. So instead, do what I just said. Okay. All right, keep this in mind. Okay, so for a longer multiple choice questions, pay careful attention to the question and not the answers. Think of the statement that you will hear and take a couple simple notes for the answer. Then match your notes with the correct answer at the end. Okay, got it? Okay, practice that at home. When you practice it a few times, it'll work. You'll be like, oh, okay, that's a way easier way to do it. It's way better of a chance that you get the right answer and have the time to do it. Okay, right? Makes sense? Yep. Elsa's got it. Good. Legend Boy says okay. Yeah. So the second one was the same, right? And the second one here, last question for this part 3. What is Dr. Sturgeon's main point in advocating for protectionism? So supporting protectionism. So here Dr. Sturgeon says that he disagrees with free trade. He figures it doesn't improve people's lives. He figures rich get richer and the middle class gets laid off. That's what he was saying. That's why protectionism is better. Okay, so let's see. Middle overall wealth has increased in society. No, he does not say that. Middle-class jobs are the foundation of an economy that works for the few and not just for domestic manufacturers. Okay. Free trade agreements are bad because they concentrate wealth in the hands of an elite few. That looks good. So I'll go with C. C is the closest, right? Yeah. I can't read the Cyrillic. I wish I could. And then I could read your name. But you got it right, one of our members. So that's nice. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So same idea. All right, students, add up your scores for section 3, and then we'll do section 4. Now, just for those of you who are getting ready for your upcoming IELTS exam, if you have IELTS tests soon, you should be aiming for, I would say, at least 6 out of 10 or more for part 3 and part 4. Okay. If you're getting less than 6 in parts 3 and parts 4, you want to be a bit careful. Okay. It's if you lose 4 marks on each of those and then a few marks on parts 1 and parts 2, you're going to be down at about a 6 to 6.5. Okay. DJ SK, you're super welcome. Thanks for your comment. All right, students, let's do part 4, and then we'll add up our marks, and I'll show you where you can check your score calculator too, okay? Or calculate your score, I should say. All right, let's do this. So same thing, everyone. We're going to go through part 4. There's no break in part 4. It's all in one go. Answer the questions, and then we'll go through the answers together, okay? Pay attention to those key words, and again, visualize. Remember, active reading. So here, many of you know, we've talked about it. You're going to be listening about Michelangelo, a very famous Italian architect, painter, sculptor. So do your best. Imagine that you are this person. Visualize it, and then we'll go through it, okay? Here we go. So back to our website again, everybody. It's aehelp.com, glshelp.com. You have the same thing in your My Student account, okay? Yeah, just make sure to sign up when you have some time for these courses. Okay, here we go. This is from our 5th exam, section 4.
Now turn to section 4. Take some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listening, section 4. You will hear a university lecture on the famous artist Michelangelo. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good to see you all. As you know, we're having an exam a week from today. Material from today's class will be included on the exam, but material from the final 2 classes of the week will not be included. I hope this will give you an opportunity to revise enough to perform well on the exam. With that administrative business out of the way, I'd like to begin today's lecture on the lesser-known works and endeavors of the famous Italian Renaissance artist Michelangelo. While Michelangelo is best known for his painting of the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, he was also the creator of a number of other highly respected works. Among these are the Pieta, a statue of Mary holding a deceased Jesus, and the statue David, said to be the representative of the perfect male form. But Michelangelo was not just a painter and a sculptor. One of his crowning achievements is St. Peter's Basilica, a project he was lead architect on for the 17 years preceding his death in 1564. While the basilica wasn't completed until 1626, over 60 years after his death, Michelangelo's influence on the structure was immense, as he had laid out many plans for the structure during his lifetime, many of which were faithfully carried out under the reign of future popes and future architects. Michelangelo's fingerprints are all over modern Rome, and especially what is today Vatican City. Not only through his paintings, frescoes, and sculptures, but also through his architectural achievements. In addition to his influence on St. Peter's Basilica, Michelangelo also redesigned the famous Capitoline Hill area of Rome and designed many chapels within the walls of the Vatican. Michelangelo was also tasked with a number of pet projects over the years. These projects were not one that the man himself wanted to undertake, but was compelled to because of monetary considerations or simply loyalty to the Pope. For example, when Pope Julius II ordered him to construct a 3 times life-size bronze statue of the Pope, Michelangelo had no choice but to accept. The project took up more than 2 years of his life, and 4 years after its completion, the work was unceremoniously melted down to construct cannons. Additionally, the conditions under which he was made to work were often sorely substandard. For years, he lived and worked with 4 other men in a cramped apartment with little to no privacy and no room for his creative juices to flourish. It is interesting to imagine what a genius such as Michelangelo could have accomplished given rein over his own creativity. I personally believe the world is a poor place for him having not been allowed this luxury. However, on the other hand, perhaps Michelangelo's sometimes tortured life imbued his works of art with something more than just artistic genius. Although Michelangelo is a celebrated figure for his works of art and well respected for this architectural acumen, his literary works are virtually unknown to the world. He was a virtuoso of Renaissance art, celebrated in his lifetime and venerated centuries after his death, but his writings never made an impact on the society in which he lived, nor in the years since. Michelangelo was an avid writer of poetry and found that poetry was an invaluable escape from the grind of his everyday work life, especially during the years spent arduously painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Poetry provided an outlet for his frustrations, fears, beliefs, and desires. Those who want to know the real Michelangelo must go beyond his frescoes and sculptures and dig deep into his personal writings. There, one will find a rather tortured soul, harmed by years of physical, political, professional, and personal strife.
That is the end of section 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, and again, check those answers, students, because you will have some time after that to go over all of the listening. And for the paper-based exam, you'll have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. In the computer-based exam, you'll have about 5 minutes to review your answers. So let's take a look at these answers together, okay? Again, this audio is coming from aehelp.com, same audio from gieltshelp.com. Let's do this. So let's go back to the first bit here. Often part 4 of the listening will have a couple of lead-in questions like this, and then they'll get into the main lecture. And then you just kind of go step by step, and really goes quite quickly. You have to pay attention to that paraphrasing. So here you have to figure out whether the material is on the exam, A, or not on the exam, B. And they said material from the 3rd class of the week. Is it A or B? And again, here, don't write the words not on the exam, especially if in your paper-based exam. Make sure that you're writing the correct letter. So material from the 3rd class of the week is number 31. Correct answer. Hopefully everybody got it. It was B. So from the next 2 classes, it won't be. The next 2 classes are not on there. So it's B. So B was the correct answer. Hopefully everybody got that. It wasn't too hard. These were kind of the give me. Okay. Questions. And then material from the current class. She didn't say current. She said today's class was A. It's on the test. Okay, so B and A were the correct answers here, right, for 31 and 32. Okay, now this is very common for part 4 listening, to fill in the blanks, often one word and just lots of them. So you don't really have, again, enough time to read all of this content. So you're really focusing on the information that's around the question. So here it's including the Pieta and the statue named something, thought to symbolize male beauty. Now, they talked about 2 statues here. I've actually seen both of these statues. Quite incredible indeed. And the statue here is a statue of David. Very good, Anna. Yeah, it was a statue of David. David. So, statue of David. Somebody got that. Perfect. Yeah, a couple of statues, but yet to listen to the one that's thought to symbolize male beauty. Okay, and notice how I really focused on the titles here, like other works, architectural achievements, servant of the papacy, below. All right. Architectural achievements, far more than just a painter, Michelangelo was also an architect. He was lead architect on St. Peter's Basilica for 2 words here. Yeah, very good, Shushmita. 17 years. Nice. Yeah. Until his death in 1564. Though the structure was not completed until 60 years after his death, his fingerprints are all over the resulting structure because future something and something. You have to get 2 words here for question 35. What was it? It's not the Vatican, Anna. Here it was future popes and architects. Okay, both plural, popes is capital. And if you're like, well, I don't know the spelling of popes, it's in the text. So you have to be able to get that. Okay, so here you have to get both of these. Popes, architects, faithfully carried out his designs. Okay, doesn't look like anybody got that. I'm a little bit worried about that. For those of you who have access to our premium package on the website, make sure that you go to your workbook and study plans. Download the second exam book. Okay, so you can download the exams here. All right. The password for your exam will be your email, not my email, but your email. Download this second exam book and then look at the transcripts and listen again. Okay, not hopes and architects, but popes. Popes by Nance Moonbix. Okay. All right. So check those answers if you didn't get them. Michelangelo's influence is also apparent around the rest of the city of, not city of Vatican, it's actually the city of Rome. Okay, again, you have to listen carefully for that, but they said Rome. Rome, yeah, Shusmitha, you got it, Rome. Including at the ancient Capitoline Hill site, which is not actually in the Vatican, right? So logic will tell you this as well. Servant of the papacy. He was also a loyal servant of the Pope. So really paying attention for that key information to position. He once built a something of the Pope. Bronze statue. Bronze statue. Very visual. Very visual. Okay. Only to see it melted down for cannon parts just a few years later. Ugh. Yeah. Moreover, the conditions. Okay. Hopefully many of you got that one. That was fairly straightforward. So bronze statue and conditions he had to work in were often substandard. Legend Boy, very good for 38. Okay. Literary works. So literary is like writing, authorship, right? Which again, remember, this is back in what is it, 1500s. Most people didn't know how to read or write. Okay, Michelangelo did. Very smart guy. It is interesting to think what he could have made if he was given the freedom to explore his own something. What should he have explored? His own, and you can almost kind of guess this again with logic if you don't know it. So anybody, what was it? Very good, Gozoda. Yeah, creativity. Okay. Yeah, explore his own creativity. Okay, and then something was an important way to escape the difficulties of Michelangelo's life. Last one, number 40. Michelangelo, not only an architect, a sculptor, a painter, but also a poet. Very good, Legend Boy. Yeah, poetry. And I like how you capitalize that, Legend Boy, because it is the first word in the sentence. So good for you. Poetry. Okay. So when it's the first word in the sentence, you should capitalize. Poetry was an important way to escape the difficulties of Michelangelo's life. So part 4 is quite fast, but it's possible. The trick or the key to part 4 is practice. Practice, practice, practice. If you practice part 4 at home, then you can really get the hang of it. This kind of lecture style listening where you're catching the key words, often nouns like Pope, bronze statue, poetry. Okay, lots of nouns. David in part 4. All right, students, for those of you who were here a couple of weeks ago for part 1 and 2, how did you do? So what did you get out of 40? Did any of you follow up from last listening class? So what was your score out of 40? The reason I'm asking you is you have a score calculator on the website. So on the website on the very bottom, you have a score calculator. This is it right here. I'll actually drop this into the chat there for you. There. And then you can figure out your score. Like if you got, let's say, 30 out of 40, and then you got a band 7. If you got 31, 7, 32, 7.5, 35, and 8, 37, and 8.5. Anna says 27, and 6.5. Yeah. Binance says 28, so it's 6.5. Good. Okay. Yeah. Legend Boy, thank you. Yeah. Don't just attend the classes, students, but also attend the websites and the apps. Okay. Make sure to use them each and every day. Okay. Click the big red button. Join the premium package. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access. Use the code FUTURE10 for a 10% discount. Okay. Tomorrow we'll do speaking, and we'll use Zoom for that as well. So tomorrow's class, speaking, we'll use Zoom. Premium students, you've got 2 more classes, task 2 writing on Thursday and on Friday. If you become a premium student today, tomorrow, please send me an email so I can send you those links, because we already sent the emails for that. Okay. Oh, Jellalidin, thank you for coming back and sharing that. That's really cool. I appreciate that. Congratulations on your score. I'm happy to have been of assistance there for you. That's fantastic. Gozoda, score of 33 is good. Okay. All right, students, keep practicing. Work hard. You will achieve your goals as long as you stay the course. Okay, stay the course. Thank you, Carolina, for moderating the chat. Romelia, thank you for your attendance. Thank you, channel members. I appreciate all that you do. These classes are for you. Have a great rest of the day, and I will see you all tomorrow. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. Much love to all of you wherever you are in the world today. Bye for now, and see you tomorrow.